All right, well, thank you guys for joining us for another Health Truth Life video. We're back at it.
Yep.
A little bit different since we're through the Matrix. We're just, I know, just starting.
So relaxed.
It is.
Yeah.
We decided we'd just sit down and talk for an hour or two and kind of see what happens,
I don't think so.
No, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We do have a theme, and we're going to try to stick to, a mid-range video. So we're doing fasting and prayer. What are some of the benefits to fasting and praying?
So this comes after Jason and I did fast last weekend regarding some things and some potential changes in the future of Health Truth Life, which we'll discuss later. But the point is fasting and prayer, and specifically fasting, has such a profound impact on, I think, both the physical body and the spiritual component of life and mindset, which again I think is tied into prayer. I think it's all kind of tied in.
Yeah.
And I certainly experienced that with this most recent fast. We both did about a 3-day fast and certainly found some really significant, I would say, just breakthroughs in a sense of a number of things, and just want to talk a little bit about fasting and its benefits. Yeah,
it was a neat process, and we definitely did, kind of come to the same conclusions and learn quite a bit from it. What was neat for me is just to see the spiritual aspect is awesome, and I kind of anticipated that, but then the physical and the mental and emotional as well, it has an impact in a lot of areas. So, but we'll dig into it here a little bit. I have a verse that kind of, as we did this kept coming to me, and it's Matthew 4:4. But he answered and said, "It is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." And so I kind of caught myself as I was in those moments where I wanted food, or breakfast time, lunchtime, dinner time. I took the time there to dig into God's word, to spend more time in his presence, and read and see what he has to say. And we're seeking some wisdom and direction, but ultimately to get to see and to know God more through this process, to see him as provider, the one who's in control, who has our best interest at heart.
I like that.
So it was neat.
Yeah, and I think, as I was thinking about the prayer and fasting, if you think about that, you've got prayer and you've got fasting. One is a more spiritual component. One is a more physical component, clearly. And as you can see in all of life, and I've seen this with, in just discussions with people regarding, okay, do I believe in God on this, or do I work for it?
Right.
Both. Do I pray about it, but also make decisions about it? Both.
Right.
Do I pray about it and do I fast about it? Both. I mean, it's kind of showing this kind of juxtaposition and or combination of how the prayer is the spiritual, the fasting is the physical, and when they're combined together, there's synergy that allows for exponential benefits that you would not get potentially with just prayer and or just fasting, I think. And so that's where I kind of see it being tied together and being so powerful.
It does seem like I had more of a clarity, a clear mind in the moments, day or two after, not eating, doing this fast. More clear thought life, and I could comprehend and perceive and, receive God more and experience him more.
Absolutely.
Because of that,
Absolutely. So the physical components of fasting, which are just profound, after about 12 to 24 hours of fasting, your glycogen stores start to be depleted. Glycogen is basically the buildup molecule of glucose, and so we likely all have high levels of glycogen in our tissues because we're constantly eating and constantly being exposed to foods. So those people who have eaten at high levels of high calories for many months and years, they're going to have high glycogen stores and therefore likely higher fatty liver disease, higher visceral body fat, which is associated with disease. And fasting helps burn that. After about 24 hours, you start burning some of that visceral fat after the glycogen gets depleted. And what's so neat about it is once that starts happening, your body starts secreting all these great hormones that are beneficial. Growth hormone gets increased. You actually get a little bit of a stimulation of production of adrenaline, which allows you to be a little bit more hyper-focused. And likely that's because your body knows you're trying to be alert enough to get food and be on the lookout for food.
Your body's like, hello, wake up.
Yeah, so there's obviously adaptive responses to that that are likely, based on our unique human history, to allow us to be more stimulated to go out and get food, whether you're hunting or gathering. And so you get this profound, I've experienced this kind of hyper acuity of senses after about 36 hours where I'm like, oh my gosh, my vision's better, my physical vision's better, my spiritual clarity is better, just I'm more at ease, but also, I wouldn't say at ease because I was a little bit more hyper focused, but I was more in tune with things, I would say, at about 36 hours.
You had mentioned the, breaking the fat burning and all that. That was interesting too. We talked about, I think I lost just over 5 pounds and you ended up losing around 7, I think,
7
or
pounds,
7 pounds. I know it's not why we did it, but it's interesting that, we had, that was one thing that was neat as I was talking to my wife about this and my family. Like we have so much more stored energy and fat that we don't realize or think that can be used to continue to push us, and we can function, not needing to keep refueling more and more and more.
The encouragement is we don't have to eat every 8 hours. You don't have to eat every 4 hours. You don't have to eat 3 to 4 small meals a day. You don't have to do that. It may work for you, and what a blessing if it does, but there are potential benefits for intermittent fasting and longer fasting with respect to things.
It makes you really start to question, and I think we all should question this, why do we have the eating habits and the patterns that we do?
Interesting. Great point. Well, if you have consistent eating patterns, who benefits?
We have the big
food companies.
Food companies, big food companies.
Absolutely. So, I got more thoughts on your spiritual component.
So, I wrote a few things down, but fasting is saying that the spiritual is more important than the physical. So that I need the spiritual more than I need the physical. So you're giving up the physical in order to gain more spiritual. So yes, we fast when we need answers or wisdom with making a decision, but the end goal isn't necessarily getting the answer, it's getting God. It's growing in our faith and awareness of God's love and provision for us. It's aligning our hearts, thoughts, and lives with Him and His plans. So that's one thing that I think I gained from that too. I became more focused and aware of His provisions and who He is, and then spending more time in His Word and slowing down and seeing Him more in creation, and just all around me, in my family. It helped me see the blessings in my life more.
Absolutely.
A lot of benefits to it, man.
Absolutely. And then kind of jumping back to the physical component, just seeing how I believe for y'all out there listening that fasting can provide kind of a reset. If you're if you're in a state of a funk, may consider a 2-day fast. Of course, talk with your doctor as long as your health is in a position where you can tolerate that. If you're a diabetic, you of course want to watch out for having a lowering of your blood sugar and make sure that you're not on insulin or blood sugar medications that may reduce your blood sugar to an unsafe realm. But the bottom line is most healthy individuals can tolerate a 48 to 72 hour fast very effectively. And I would say for action steps, I'd consider doing a 24-hour fast a week. That would be eating on an evening and not eating until the following evening. Now, of course, water, coffee, broth, all that is okay within some moderation. Some people would just do water and tea, or maybe just water for those 24 hours. But of course, it's up to you, the degree of fast that you decide to do. I would say don't be legalistic about it, because if you're fasting on something, you're going to have benefits. If you're fasting on empty calories, you will have benefits, even if you're doing some water, some broth, or some coffee and tea. So those are kind of things to consider. And then I would consider, when big decisions are coming up, or you're looking for some discernment or a deepening of your relationship, with the spiritual and with God, I would recommend considering doing a longer fast. And I think that can be tolerated very well, every few months, every 1 to 2 months, considering like a 3-day, 72-hour fast. So that's kind of some thoughts I've got with respect to the benefits.
There was so many benefits from it, like you just talked about. I'm going to try to start doing once a week, I believe, and see kind of how that works for me. But like you said, sure, we all have our own issues and things we need to think about and work on while we do this. But I'm going to try that out and see how it goes. It was really neat, really cool thing for me to do, and I really appreciated the time. A couple things I wanted to talk about, the spiritual side of it. Thought it was interesting, specifically on prayer and fasting. God tells us or commands us to do it kind of in private. It's not something to be seen and known We're talking about it after the fact, but for both of them, Matthew chapter 6, he actually talks about prayer and fasting. And he says, when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly I tell you that they have received their reward in full. So, this is a private thing between the individual and God. And then he says the same thing at the end of the chapter about fasting. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show that they are fasting. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. So let this be a personal thing, between you and God. That's where the real benefit is. It's not about broadcasting it or, making it known that you're doing this, Social media, it's kind of crazy how people
It's funny you mentioned that, because actually in church, I was just finishing up my fast, and I did let some people know I was fasting, because I kind of told my wife,
pass out?
I told my wife, hey, I passed out.
Well, yeah.
Because I actually had a really significant, I didn't feel really good the Sunday morning, the end of my fast. It was about 88 hours in to no solid food, and I went for a long walk and actually jogged a little bit that morning. And I had to serve at church. I got the blessing of serving at church that morning, but I didn't feel good. I really felt like I could potentially pass out.
Right.
So I woke my son up to make sure that he would help serve while I was there. So someone was there to help. And I went and I broke my fast at that point. Had a little bit of something to eat.
Well, yeah, you needed to at that point.
But I see. But it is true though. If you're gloating about it and it's done for show.
Yes.
Man, I think that's what the point is.
Yeah, that's your reward,
Yeah.
But if you're motivated to know God, to grow in your awareness of Him, and to get to know Him, and
my reward was just the closeness that I felt in the mornings of those walks that I did on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That was just like incredible. The verses I was given, but also just the discernment and the peace of mind that again passes that understanding that so it was incredible, is what I'd say.
It's a good thing. So we encourage you guys to definitely look into doing some praying and fasting yourselves, and
great physical benefits, great spiritual benefits.
That's right.
We'll put down below some of the kind of suggestions and action plan with respect to fasting. Of course, comment if you'd like on things you find successful or beneficial for you for fasting and for prayer, and how you combine them together. So thank you guys very much for listening. We appreciate y'all, and have a great week.
Thank you.